Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Test Flight in the F-86 Sabre. And in the first two videos, we got into a basic description of the aircraft and started looking around the cockpit, getting a feel for how the aircraft is set up overall, where everything is, and how basically to interact with the systems as we get going. And I'm also going to look a little bit at handling of the aircraft as we get further on into this video. So let's go ahead and pick up where I left off last time. I'll see you in a second. Oh, what else? That's about all there is for there. Okay, and of course I've got my standard backup magnetic compass up here. Got the mirror, which I never use. Okay, then coming around, I'll go down the right console and then hit the main flight instruments. Okay, canopy alternate emergency jettison. Okay, so that could come in handy at a later time, hopefully not. Okay, looks like electrics. Okay, voltage, engine master on, okay. What would you be? You would be a generator switch, so, okay, that will stay on. And that's the generator, it's just a single generator mounted on the engine, that's what's supplying, or providing electrical power. I have a battery that's also, okay, I've got a three positions toggle switch, battery off and starter. Okay, air start. Okay, I'm assuming that would be if I wanted to windmill the engine and attempt an air start, I would do that. I'll figure out that procedure later on, I'm sure. Fuel density correction. So that's going to kind of tie into the... Well, I really need to get trim figured out. Okay, let me do this first, just so I don't crash the aircraft. I'm going to map trim. So let me go ahead and go to escape, adjust controls. And I should have... Do I have something? Yeah, for stick grip. Okay, I do not want that. Although while I'm here, well, no, I'll get that later. Trim. Where would I be? I would be under flight control. Okay, trim. Okay, joystick, trim down. Trim left. Trim right. Trim up. Okay. Now that should make things a little bit easier for me, because now I can use this... It's this button right here that I just mapped. It's in the same place on my HOTAS, but I need to trim some nose down. And what the trimmer does is we have an all hydraulic flight control system. Well, not all hydraulic. It's hydraulic for the ailerons and the horizontal stab tail, all moving tail. The rudder, I believe, is still it's still like a cable, almost not a manual. I think there's a hydraulic assist, but since it is hydraulically controlled, the trim only adjusts the center position. So there's like a little bungee that gives artificial feel. Kind of like, kind of like exactly what you have in the whatever stick that you're using to fly the aircraft in the first place. So all the trim does is move the center position around. It doesn't... And I guess technically it also moves the ailerons and the tail mechanically, but that's how trim is done. There are no trim tabs except on the rudder. Okay, so let me just kind of trim out for a level flight here. When getting a feel for the aircraft is going to... Okay, so what am I at here? I'm at 10... I'm at 20,000 feet. Okay, a little over 400 knots. That's fine. Mach 0.95. Wow, I'm actually screaming. Let me pull the throttles back a little bit. Pull it back to a little bit more reasonable level so I can manage my flight controls a little bit. Not have to worry about transonic effects so much. Okay, so there we go. That's a lot more reasonable. That feels a lot better too. Okay, so now I'm trimmed out for more or less level flight. Okay, that'll make things a lot easier on me as I go around and continue this description. Okay, so I've got essentially electrics over here. I've got external lighting, so electrics and lighting. Okay, I've got communications, navigation. I guess, yeah, navigation on this one. Okay, I've got UHF and, yeah, UHF command radio. It has different settings. I don't have specific frequencies I can set, but there should be like a preset frequency for each position right here. So that should work just fine. IFF. I can't imagine this is modeled at all, but I'll just leave it in the norm position. Okay, and then I've got more, you see, filters. Doesn't look like any of this is is modeled. Doesn't really matter. Okay, and then I've got more circuit breakers back there on the left side. And yeah, trim is going to be an issue. Well, not an issue. That's just part of flying an aircraft or flying a new aircraft. Is figuring out the little idiosyncrasies of it. Okay, so let me come down to my main instrument panel. Tweak the trim a little bit more. Okay, that's a lot better. Okay, Mach 0.87, about 450 knots indicated. Okay, that should be fine for now. Okay. Okay, so coming across, emergency fuel on and off. I do have the ability to have like a little backup method of providing fuel to the engine if the main pump, I can't remember if there's two pumps, but either way, I have a backup for emergency fuel. I have a hydraulic pressure gauge with different settings. I have actually three hydraulic systems on the aircraft: normal, alternate, and utility. So depending on the position of this switch, right now I'm getting the utility hydraulic pressure. Let me go down to normal, alternate. Yeah, they seem to be working just fine. So I'll put it back to normal. I have a whole lot of lights up here, so this gives me warnings for different conditions. This will tell me if the inverter is off, and yeah, I can push to test all these lights. So just going to give me warnings if certain conditions are met. Generally, if certain electrical systems start to go offline. Okay, compass fast slave, and that'll tie into my directional gyro right here. Okay, let me push the throttle up and put her into a climb to get over this terrain. But what I would not do for an autopilot right about now. Okay, accelerometer. So it looks like it's going to max out at 7G. I don't expect to... I could possibly... Well, I don't know what the handling... You know, in an aircraft that, you know, just lives and dies at high Mach number, I would expect to be able to put a lot of G's on this aircraft. But I believe, yes, 7 G's is about the max that I believe structurally that you would ever want to put on it. Okay, so coming across, low altitude bombing system, more controls. I'll investigate that further just to see if it's working at a later time. Okay, fire system test, fire warning lights, okay. Oil pressure, okay. This is the engine RPM. So right now at about 95.5%. Yeah, I'll push it up to like 96%. And you can see my exhaust gas temperature, like I mentioned before, is starting to, you know, it's right up there. Anywhere between 600 and 690 is really, you know, I guess maybe not the optimal place for it, but that's the normal range. You just want to be careful not to go above 690 for an extended period. Okay, then coming across here, this is an instrument tied into the low altitude bombing system. We'll investigate that later. I've got my ADI, or I guess I should call it the artificial horizon in this era aircraft. It tells me, like right now, that I'm at a little over 10 degrees nose up. Okay, directional gyro or directional compass. So right now I'm heading 190. Okay, airspeed indicator, and this will be in. Let's see. This will be in indicated airspeed, and I think this upper tick might be calibrated airspeed. I believe it does give a conversion for me. I hope it does. That would be nice. Okay, then a Mach meter. So about a 0.88 Mach, which is a pretty reasonable speed to be at. Okay, radio compass. So if I had this instrument dialed into a transmitter on the ground, I would get a bearing off of this compass. Let me see, and of course landing gear controls. Voltmeters for DC, altimeter, clock, slip and side slip and bank indicator, VVI, fuel flow, exhaust gas temperature, of course, fuel quantity. There's not a lot of range built into the F-86. We do have the ability to put drop tanks on, but yeah, the aircraft just does not have a lot of legs. Maybe an hour, maybe more of the drop tank sortie time. And cabin pressure altitude. So this is my cabin pressure. Okay, so now we get into it's like the bottom, what would I call this? The bottom console? It has a name. I think it's the center pedestal is the actual name for this, but let's see what I have. This is all armament controls down here. So, Okay, I can put wind correction into my bomb sight when I'm bombing using this dial. I'll figure out the ins and outs of that later. Now I can also set up a specific rocket depression angle, and that's going to work depending on the position of this switch. I have 3 positions: guns, bombs, and rockets. Let me uncage this real quick. So right now it's in the rocket position. So what should happen is I will twist this dial. And yeah, see, it moves the reticle down to a specific mil setting. 17 mils is what you want to, by default, have your rocket sight depression angle set to. And then, just based on your technique and based on, if you always miss long or always miss short, adjust it from there. Okay, target speed switch, high-low. Okay, guns and bombs. Okay. And I'll get into the ins and outs of the A4. I know the theory behind it. I know how it operates. But I've never actually seen it or done it in practice. So that'll be coming up very, very soon. Okay, instrument alternate power. Okay, this is all... Let me see. This would have something to do with bombing controls. This switch does not appear to be modeled, however. Okay, flight control or sight filament, and this will be have a primary and alternate filament. So right now it's on the primary filament. If that filament were to burn out, I could switch this down to secondary, or switch it up to secondary and go off of that filament to keep my sight available. I have auto release or manual release. So we have the ability set up in the A4 sight to have it automatically release a bomb force. And again, I know the theory behind it. What I would do is I would roll in on the target, stabilize over the target, or stabilize the reticle over the target, depress and hold the weapon's release switch, and then once the sight senses that it's at the right release perimeters, it would release. Kind of like with the manual pip system, except a little bit more automatic, I guess. And I don't know, we'll see just how accurate and how reliable each of those systems are. I know that this manual system, and just the nature of this manual bombing system, it can be very, very accurate. It's just all a matter of hitting the right perimeters. We'll see how this automatic system that's built into the A4 sight does for us. I'll put that back to manual. Okay, demolition bombs, off, all, left, right. So, okay, I'm going to take that as kind of like a master arm switch, maybe determining, okay, which ones are going to get released, all of them, or left, right, on a pass. This would be a lot easier if I wasn't so heads down constantly in the cockpit. Okay. And I'm not convinced that I have my flight controls 100% set up. That just doesn't feel... who knows. Okay, nose bomb fuse arming. So I have nose tail and tail only. So depending on the bomb fusing, I could select either both nose tail fusing or tail fusing. So I could have different effects depending on the bomb and the fuses. Okay, fuse delay, instantaneous or delay. And again, that would tie into the mechanisms that are tied into the bomb rack and interface with the bomb. There are little swivels that hook to solenoids on any type of bomb rack, and depending on the position of these switches and which solenoids hold and pull little loops on the bomb and release wires or don't release wires, you can get different effects, and that's what these switches will be affecting. Okay, rocket jet ready and off, so I'm assuming that I can use this cover, or the covered switch to jettison rockets if needed. Okay, and then guns, missile, sight camera, and radar are off. So this is going to be just the main control for the A4 sight. Right now it's in the guns position, and I believe it needs to be, it does need to be in the guns position no matter what. So for guns, rockets, and bombs. This position is not modeled since we don't have missiles. This position only powers the sight and the gun camera, so it does not power the armament circuits for the gun. Only when you put it to the guns position does it do that. And then gun heater on and off. Okay. Okay, so let me pull it out of that dive again. And that's a little bit more long-winded on an orientation for the cockpit. Usually what I do there is just get the overall feel, but I'm coming into this with a lot of F-86 knowledge, if you can't tell already, but not as much as a lot of people, but I don't know, it's one of my favorite aircraft, so I know this should be interesting as we get into the ins and outs and get into actual use of the systems. I know theories behind a lot of them, but seeing them in action is going to be a lot of fun, so just a quick recap. Okay, so I've got environmental, secondary flight control, fuels, armament controls, primary flight instruments with indication lights and hydraulic gauges for certain conditions. I've got electrics and lighting, I've got navigation, I've got communication, and I've got more armament controls on the center pedestal. Okay, so that's an overview. Let me just look around here, see if there's anything else that's interesting or that's standing out. Now this model of F-86 is equipped with an ejection seat. At one point in my life I would have been able to tell you what model of seat this is. I used to be like a big-time aircraft, scale aircraft modeler, so those kind of details are what I just love, but operation of it, there's like a little handle and a trigger right here, so if I wanted to eject I would pull the handles up and then squeeze the trigger, and that would punch me out. Hopefully I never need to worry about that, however. I have these indications on the canopy, and what this is just a backup reference that's going to tell me my dive angle. So let me just, as an example, put it into a 30-degree dive. So I'll roll over. Wait, the nose does not want to go down. Might need to get into the habit of using a little bit more rudder. Okay, so right there I'm in a 30-degree dive, and I can tell that just by that little quick reference right there on my canopy. Oh, let's see, what else? Okay, then just overall handling, and let me just finish this video out with just exploration of how it feels and how it handles in the air. So let me just start with a quick turn to the left. Okay, pulling some G's. So what am I got? Oh my God, I was up to 9 G's. I do not want to do that. That is twitchy. That is going to take some getting used to, because G's build up very, very quickly. I'm surprised I'm still in one piece, to be honest, after that. Okay, let me try that again. Turn to the right. Wow. Okay, 5 G's. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well, I don't know. I'm a big proponent of not adjusting curves and not adjusting like the saturation or the setup of the flight controls. But my goodness, I was only putting like a ½ inch of aft stick and getting 9 G's out of that turn. So I might end up going in and adjusting the saturation on my control stick. That is, if I can confirm once and for all whether or not that's appropriate behavior. That, for all I know, might be the way that an F-86 handles. Definitely one way or another. I mean, I think, as I mentioned before, anytime you have a aircraft that is built to operate at high Mach numbers, and I'm at a pretty lofty clip right now, it is going to be twitchy on the controls, and you're going to get a lot of responsiveness and a lot of G's building up very, very quickly. So I don't know, that might be okay. Huh. Okay, so I've got that figured out. Now, let me try this. Let me just do a quick split S. Well, I don't want to try it at this. Let me do an Immelman. Okay, so let me put it nose to the sky. Let me watch my airspeed. 300. Let me push up the throttles. Gotta watch my EGT. Okay, 250. Roll out. Okay, not bad. What altitude am I at right now? That's, okay, I'm about 15,000 feet. Is that right? Yeah, 15,000 feet. Okay, interesting. Let's see here. I have a different tone coming through right now. I'm wondering what the significance of that is. Different tones, especially when It's not associated with engine transients, so I don't worry so much about that. But yeah, different sounds coming from an aircraft don't fill me with a lot of confidence, but yeah, I think overall that gives me enough to go on. I know overall what I can expect once I get into the air. So now it's time to press on, learn the systems, and learn the procedures. So I'm going to come back next time and run through a ramp start, high-speed taxi, and shutdown, and really get into the weeds of this. So thanks again for watching. I hope you are going to enjoy this series. I know I'm enjoying flying it, and I will see you next time.